Picking up from where we left off, we have all the devices available that are at least accessible to the browser, and we want to fill out the labels here. So that'll be the first thing we do, which will go fairly quick. And then we need to make it so that on change, it actually updates the feed. So the best place for this, since get devices runs on load no matter what happens, this will be where we want to actually update the DOM. So coming over at index.html, I have option tags in here, which are just kind of a filler. I'm going to get rid of all three of those. So we are down to just audio input, output, and video input. Okay? So I have stripped that down. Let's come over here and up top, because we're going to be interacting with those. Let's grab our audio input L and set it equal to document.querySelector. Grab the thing with the ID of audio-input. I copy this, paste twice. This one will be audio output. And update this. And then the last one will be video. Again, this way we have the DOM elements to work with wherever we need to. And in get devices, we're going to do a devices.forEach. We'll call the one we're on D, which is just short for device. And the first thing we'll need to do is create an option. To do that, we'll do document.createElement, and it's going to be an option. So create the option tag. I bet you haven't done that for a while. Native JavaScript to do this, but we'll set the option.value equal to d.device ID. You will see why here in a little bit. So this isn't going to be the text. The text, which is option.text, will equal d.label. So let's come back over here and look just real quick. My very first one is audio input. So we're going to use the kind here in just a second. There's audio input. There are 2 video inputs. And then there's a whole bunch of audio outputs. The label is going to be the text that we display. And if I open this up, there is a device ID, in this case is default, which is a little lame compared to this ridiculous hash. But that's what the value is going to be. So we can pull that out. Again, you'll see why here in a minute. So this is good to actually set up our option tag. Now we need to find out what type it is. So it'll be if d.kind equals audio input, then we're going to grab the audio input L and .append child, so hand it the option. So add the option tag we just created to the right select. Actually, I'm going to move this up. There we go. Oops, didn't mean to move everything. Let's get this back down there. Okay, there we go. So if it's an audio input, then append it to that particular element. Else if d.kind equals audio output, and we'll do the same thing. It'll just be to the other element. So audio output. And then lastly, the only other choice is if d.kind equals video input. Then I'll grab this first one, and we will swap out audio with video. So this should do the trick, because get devices gets called on load. We go out with enumerate devices, loop through all of them, set up the option tag right here, and then we add it to the appropriate element based on what kind it is. So let's refresh. There we go. It looks like it pulled everything back. I have quite a few. You may only have 1 or 2. I have two webcams, my built-in one as well as a little pro cam. What we need to do now is make it so that if I switch this to something else, something happens over here. And if we come up to capabilities and constraints, there is a note cleverly hidden here. It may be somewhere else, but I could not find it or remember. But it says you can specify 1 or more media input devices to establish restrictions on which input sources are allowed. That's for get user media. To collect a list of available devices, you use enumerate devices. That's exactly what we did. Then for each device that meets the criteria, add its device ID to the media constraints object that eventually gets passed to get user media. You might be thinking, why don't we use apply constraints? Well, we can't, because remember, apply constraints is a track method, and the track is using a very particular media stream. We have to start over. We have to rebuild the stream with the new track. So it has to be get user media. And so over in scripts.js, this is where we did it a long time ago, we have these constraints set up. In get mic and camera, we have this line here, the stream, get user media, and we hand it constraints. Well, over in input output, the user just changed audio input, so we'll put changed audio input. we're going to bring in E, and the value that they selected, so we'll do const device ID equals E.target.value. So again, we were very clever in setting the device ID to the value. So we can pull out the device ID of what they just chose, set const constraints. This will just be a local variable. Audio, we're going to set the device ID, and this is new. We did max, min, or whatever in the past. We can't just set the device ID to the device ID. We need to be very explicit here and tell it the exact device ID we want to use. Like that. So the device ID needs to be exactly this thing. You can put in some error handling in case you ever get into trouble there, but we'll set up the video as simply true because they didn't change it. So whatever it was, it should still be. And then we are going to overwrite our stream with that same thing that we had before. We need to put async up here. And we need to add a try and catch around here, as you have heard me say many times. So let's move that up there, and we'll have a catch with, we'll console.log the error. So we are prepared for line 37 to run. Looks like I misspelled constraints up there, so let's fix that. Line 30, okay, there we go. So that's a match. We could put, let's put a constraints, or let's do new constraints, just so that it's different. Would help me remember. What we're going to do, though, inside here, we can console.log the stream, but what is going to be more interesting to help us actually test it, because you're kind of on your own. I can't really show you whether this works for me because my input and my output are on a video of a video that I'm making for you. So what we did over in scripts, inside show my feed, we loop through the tracks and we print them off. So let's do that. Let's, in addition to the stream, we'll do the tracks, but we don't need the video tracks because that has not changed. So we'll do get audio tracks. We'll store that in tracks, and then we will log it. So let's refresh, share, show. All right, the media track down here, you get a little bit different video feed because I've got my other camera plugged in, so we've got more than one video input. But it shows the label of the input is this default QuickTime input. Clear that out. Change this over to this Scarlet thing. All right, the new media stream track is here, and it has changed. It's got the new device ID. It is an audio, etc. Okay, so mission accomplished. We need to do exactly the same thing for our video. So this should probably be put into its own function rather than copying and pasting, which is a terrible idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to put async here. All right, we're going to change this from audio device ID. This will just go to true. And I'm going to change this to what I just had up above there. So it'll be exact device ID. We need to bring in the event. Everything else is the same with the exception of the tracks down here. We'll change that to video tracks. This one will be easier for you to see that it worked on mine because the video feed will actually change. So let's give that a try. Refresh, show my video. Let's change the video from this webcam to my Mac cam. So that did update to my FaceTime. We have to do show my video again, though, because just because the stream is updated, we haven't actually sent it over. So we need to change the object. There we go. Mission accomplished. I'll switch it back just so you can see. Switch back over to that one. It updated the stream. Now we update what's shown, and it switches back. When we do this later on, we will automatically apply the new stream to the video tag. You can do that if you would like, but we're going to hop over to audio output. In order to apply the audio output change, we need to use this method setSyncID, which is native to the video tag. So HTML media element. It just says that the setSyncID method sets the ID of the audio device to use for output and returns a promise. This is only allowed when you're authorized. We are authorized because we already asked the user to grab it. But we call setSyncID and we hand the sync ID. The sync ID is the device ID of the audio output device. To implement this, we are going to grab the video element in change audio output. Remember, the video element is back up at the very top of scripts. This is the video feed, so the video tag essentially. We're going to grab that thing. We're going to call setSyncID against it, and we need to grab the event. And we will pass it e.target.value. e.target.value is whatever the select box that the user just picked. We're going to send that over. This is a promise, so we can throw async in here. And we can do an await. There's no reason to assign it to anything or to log the resolve response, because if we come back over to the docs here, the promise resolves to undefined, so it's not going to be anything. It really more comes down to, is it a try or a catch, but I'll just put changed audio device. Okay, so let's give that a try. We will share, we will show, we will come down to the bottom and change the output to something else. And it's up to you whether or not this worked or not. It is working for me. That covers us for this one. If you would like a review, you can go to the review video. Otherwise, you are ready for the next section when we will start actually talking to a peer and get the other side of WebRTC. Great job in this section.